Hey kids, it's Jurassic James and Jurassic Explains looking at Aucasaurus. So my first introduction to this was, I think, Dinosaur Planet. It was a documentary with the animation recreation. And I remember even as a kid, I show it and it's in South America, South American Abelisaurid. And I remember they show the main predator being Carcharodontosaurus, which is found in Africa. And I was like, why are they putting that animal, like they didn't want to name it, because the most obvious example would be Giganotosaurus, any other large South American Carcharodontosaurus, but they named it Carcharodontosaurus, that genus. I'm not sure if that was a typo or they didn't want to give certain attention. I don't know. The point I'm trying to make is that here's finally a toy, but there's no non-Jurassic World figure. Here we have the official Sisters Jurassic James, so we're going to open it up and talk about this critter. Now, it was named in 2002, so at time of taping, we've known about this for 25 years. Nope, not that. It's 2025 right now. We know it about 23 years. And that's how math works, kids. And so, there we go. Official scissors. Back to normal. Oh, the tail. Keep doing that. Let's see. Oh, the tail's always on the side because you have to pack it separate, because the idea is that the tails will be too long, the box will be too long, that will cost some shipping, etc., etc. So, take the tail, plug it in, and it clicks. And so, very well balanced, very good. Okay, so the name basically comes from the location it's found. Again, dinosaur names are usually going to be where they're from or something about the animal. If you don't know the story, dinosaur, the term dinosaur was coined in 1842 by Sir Richard Owen. And so, if you were an early paleontologist in the 1800s or 19th century, and you are either, well, Western side, British, French, or we now call German, you speak different languages. So if you're educated, you use Greek or Latin as a common language. So science, the name's usually Greek and Latin. Of course, this has changed because, the name being from a location is not unusual. But in China, for example, why would they give them Latin Western names? So that's what's going on here. Now, what this guy really needs it is a Abelisaurid. So I have its relatives here. I always call them the Abelisaurid, his son, Ceratosaurus, this guy who lived in late Jurassic North America and Tanzania, Africa. And again, there's multiple, and I've done a video on all of these dinosaurs. So at this point, I have an Abelisaurid playlist. And so Abelisauris itself, Scorpio venator, Rugops from Africa, Cryptops, Majungasaurus from Madagascar, Rajasaurus from India, the most famous Abelisaurid of all, Carnotaurus from South America. Actually, most of them are, actually, let me do this way. They're all from South America except for, but you guys over here and there. You're African. You're African. So, these are all the South American Abelisaurid's, and there's more named genuses or possible genuses, but these are the ones that have had figures since then. And little Quilmeosaurus, found by a femur. They found one femur. It's a different video. The point is, that's the most complete Abelisaurid found. So that's really kind of fun. So last week, or last time I did this topic, it was the first Abelisaurid found. Now it's the most complete one found, except for like the part of the tail. And that's important because when you're looking at dinosaurs and you're finding multiple specimens or multiple species from different parts of the world, different rock layers, when you find a near complete one, you go, okay, I assume it had 2 arms and legs, but now we know, kind of thing. And so what makes it special, of course, is that it is, based on the anatomy we have, thought to be the closest relative of Carnotaurus itself. And the difference is, it's like 20 feet long, 15 feet long, somewhere in range. It doesn't have the same, it doesn't have the horns. That's the big part to point out. Because when you hear Carnotaurus cousin, you go, oh, it has horns just like it. No, it does have little like rogues or raised ridges over the eyes and nose, which implies some kind of growth. But the idea is it's not a full-blown horn like this guy. Its name is Carnotaurus. That's how you know. And so one thing to point out too is that the hands were preserved. And so Abelisaurid in general, they have 4 toes. They have, like all big dinosaurs, or theropod dinosaurs, or mean dinosaurs mainly. 3 toes in the front, dew claw in the back, right? Like a dog's dew claw. Well, what's going on with this guy is that he has that basic feature, very good. What's unique about it is his hands. And so I remember when I first saw Rugops, I did a video when I opened this, and the video I just did not like this figure. So it's such a... The point is, could you guys make a new Jurassic World, whoever you make designers, make a new Rugops, but like better? Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that the hand, the metacarpal, so basically you have these, we have in our hands, we have all non-radius down here, metacarpal, metacarpal, and then phalanges, your fingers. And so usually Abelisauros have 4 phalanges, not clawed fingers. Like some they have like 3 claws or whatever. They'll have like, let's see, they lose them going in like that. So you would have like this, and you would have 3 claws, like a nub for the ring finger. Well, this guy's weird because it's okay. So the Abelisaurid you have fus for, it's missing this one and that one. So it has just these 2 metacarpal and these 2 bones, no claws. And so I was trying to find a picture of the specimen, or they found, or how it looked. And I think with Concavinator, this is relative of Dinosaurus that has these little humps on his back. And when I first saw it, I was like, okay, that's weird. And I saw the actual fossil in a matrix of rock, and it's like right there, preserved well. I was like, well, I can't argue with that. There it is. Well, I was trying to find a picture of this guy when they first dug it up. I could not. And so, because sometimes, I mean, how articulate was it? Were those bones missing? What's going on? Because if not, it would have 2 fingers like this guy, which is kind of weird for an Abelisaurid. So that would stand out particularly. It lived about between 80 and 83 million years ago. So it was, well, let's not do a timeline again. I did that last time. And so the idea is that it's an older Abelisaurid. It's still late Cretaceous, so it's not early Cretaceous like our friend from Africa, Niger, Africa. But the idea is that this guy still is pretty old for Abelisaurid. Most of them are defined like 75 million years ago, or 68 to 65, 66, you know, at the end Cretaceous. And so really cool thing to point out there. Now, it's a carnivore. How do we know this? I mean, one thing to point out when you talk to people who are higher than me in science, they're always like, how do you know? And like well, it has teeth for biting and tearing, but unless you find like a T-Rex's poop with Triceratops bones in it, we're not really sure, right? And so one thing to point out too is that the specimen found has some kind of head injury, and luckily for us, I mean for it was found in a lake. And that's important because most deposition, well actually first, to be a fossil is really rare. And the idea is very simple, very, very simple. You must first die, because if you don't die first, it's very painful. 2, you must be quickly buried. If you're not buried, scavengers get a hold of you, the decomposers, etc. Low energy environment, you can't be re-exposed, moved around. No oxygen, because oxygen destroys things a lot of times. And then, of course, to be lucky. So most things aren't lucky to be fossils in a sense. And so the idea here is that for this animal to fall into a lake, most deposition happens below sea level or in waters. And so, again, if you're out on the plains, other things will find you, scavenge you. I mean, I've seen roadkill. You have too, probably. I'm sorry about that. But the idea is that this guy was, the specimen is based on, was found in a lake, which means it was preserved very well. And so, cause of death, we're not sure, but there's a head injury. That usually, that could kill things. And so it's really neat because we find a lot of these guys, and there's just a, you know, I mean, everything died to be a fossil, but with the head injury, we're like, this is most likely something to do with its death. So it's kind of forensic-y there. So if you like, I mean, that's one thing, people think of paleontology as it's just digging up dinosaurs. It's like, no, it's other prehistoric things too, but also it's multiple disciplines. And so the idea of just being a naturalist a long time ago, or just being a paleontologist or a biologist who does paleontology, we need forensics people to look at these things. And when you cross-pollinate, when you look at different types of sciences and understandings, there's different perspectives on that. And it's one of those things where, in many cases, I have my expertise, and I meet someone who different field, and we look at the same problem, and I'll see it a different way, because my training, my background, my experience is one thing, which is why the diversity of thought's so cool. And so with this particular animal, a forensic, like, I might look at it and go, okay, I see these bones, here's an injury, what does it mean? And someone else who zoology will say like, oh wow, that means something better from this angle, or whatever happened here, or something like, you know, that they can, because I've seen this in rhinoceroses, or etc., right? And that's why it's important for you kids, if you're watching, and adults, to not stop reading, but to continually read, experience things, learn, go places, see stuff if you can. But Aucasaurus overall, it's, unless they have another one coming out, I think it's the last Abelisaurid. There aren't any more famous Abelisaurs to make. There's like maybe 1 or 2 more. I think about it, but the idea is that unless they're making a new Rugops, do not talk to me, people from Jurassic World. This is so upsetting, and it's so small. This one should be smaller. Oh, there is one. I have another small Abelisaurid. I forgot about that. I found it at like Kroger's. That'll happen later on. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for tuning in. I'll do a timeline about them then.